Okay, this video is for section 4.1 on worksheet 7, which covers problems 1 through 7 on the worksheet. Okay, and basically there's only two types of questions that are in that group of problems, and I'd like to do a little bit of an introduction and then we'll go right to a couple of those examples. So section 1 is on quadratic functions and models. And there are two forms of quadratic that we need to talk about here so that you're able to work with those problems. Okay. Number one, on right underneath there is the standard form of a quadratic. And it looks like this. F of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And when we did these, we've done some problems like these previous. And here are the things that, well, they asked you for three things from those equations. They asked you to determine whether it is going to be a parabola because it's a quadratic. They asked you, does it open up or open down? What is the vertex of the parabola? And what is the axis of symmetry? Well, the opening up or down is dependent upon the value of A in that standard form. We know that if A is greater than 0, which means positive, then the parabola opens up. If A is less than 0, then the parabola opens down. Okay, those are your two options. So it's either positive or negative. Positive, it opens up. Negative, it opens down. There's your first answer. Now, again, we had formulas for finding vertex. And I've given you the formulas here. You might want to make sure you've got these written down somewhere so that you can refer to them, like even on the homework page, so that you're building those examples that you can refer back to later. To find the value of h, which is the x-coordinate of the vertex, you take the opposite of b and divide it by 2a. Okay, to find the vertex k, which is the coordinate k, which is the y coordinate. Okay, then you take 4 times a times c minus b squared, and then take that answer and divide by 4a. Okay, so be careful with the order of operations on that second one. There's a lot of things going on there. If you're typing it all in at once, you might want to use parentheses around the numerator and denominator so that your calculator does those problems in the right order. And then the last thing, the third thing they want is the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry is a vertical line that cuts through the parabola, divides it into two pieces, two halves, okay, and again goes right through that vertex. Okay, so to determine that vertical line, the equation of that vertical lines are always described as x equals, and then it has to pass through the h value, which is the x coordinate of that vertex. So x equals h, whatever that is, will be the equation of your axis of symmetry. Okay, so that's the first thing they're going to ask you to do. And so before we move on to the second form of a parabola, we'll come back to this sheet. Okay, let's talk about a problem that uses that information. So question number 4 on your worksheet says f of x equals x squared minus 2x minus 3. And we're being asked to determine, does the parabola open up or down? What's the vertex? What's the axis of symmetry? Okay, so I can't really tell you how, if these problems are messy or not. I think I tried to keep them pretty clean so that you don't get any real strange answers, but no promises. Okay, so with this example then, the first thing I notice, part A, is that A in this equation is 1. Okay, it is positive 1. And we said that if A is positive, then we know that this thing opens up. Okay? Part B. We're trying to find the vertex. We know that H equals negative B, B appears to be negative 2, divided by 2A. So looks like positive 2 on top, positive 2 on the bottom. That reduces to 1. K is 4 times 1, 4A, times C, negative 3, minus B squared, which would be negative 2 squared, all over 4A. So negative 12 minus 4 over 4 is negative 16 over 4, or negative 4. Okay, so that means I have a vertex at 1, negative 4. Okay. And then finally, for my axis of symmetry, we said x equals h is the format. So in this case, x equals 1 is my answer. Okay. So there are 2 other problems like that. You should be able to follow those in exactly the same manner. And I don't think, it doesn't appear that the numbers are going to get real bad in terms of fractions, decimals, etc. So should be similar to this one. Okay. Second part of this lesson, going back to that original sheet, looks at the standard form of a parabola, not the standard form of a quadratic, standard form of a parabola. Okay, and what we can do with that is we can use, if we know 2 points on a parabola, a vertex and a point, then we can write the equation of that parabola. And that's what we're going to use it for here. What they will do is they will give us everything but the value of A, and then we'll put, once we determine what A is, then we can, by substituting in and solving, then we can use the A, H, and K to write the formula. Okay, so that's the standard form of a parabola, and we're going to use that to find some equations. So my example here is number 7. Now, first of all, look at number 7 on your sheet. Okay, number 7, if you look at it, look at which way it points. This thing opens down. So what should that tell me about the value of A? When I get done, A had better be negative. Okay, A had better be negative. Okay, so let's see if that's what happens. So I've got the vertex and I've got the point given. You need those 2 pieces. Okay, and I've got those written out on another piece of paper here because I need a little bit of room to do my work. Okay, so here's my vertex, here's my point. Now the vertex, remember, is your H and K, and the point is designated as X and F of X. So I'm going to copy the formula down again. f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Now, take those four numbers from above and plug those in. So instead of f of x, I'm going to plug in a -2. A is the value that I need to find. X is -4. H is -2. K is 6. So, solving this equation for A, the first thing, move the 6 over. Those drop out. This becomes -8 equals A times. Inside, the double negative, before the 2 changes to a plus. So -4 plus 2 is -2 squared. Excuse me. Now, when you take -2 and square it, it changes to a +4. Divide both sides by 4. So A equals -2. Okay. Now, again, I said it was going to be negative because the picture of the parabola opens down. But what I want to do now in my final step is I want to take the A that I just found and the H and K and plug those into this original form again. So f of x equals -2 times x. Because of the double negative, this is going to become a +2, x minus a negative, squared, and then +6. So there is your final equation for that parabola on number 7. And problems 5 and 6 should be very similar. You just plug it in different numbers, but you should get some values that create some equations so that you can write those functions out as well. Okay, so that's section 1, 4.1, and that should get you through those first 7 questions. Okay.